Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Beckworth, the data specialist on the project. And we also have Sherry Lucarelli, who is co-PI on the project. And today we're going to be talking about academic year data requirements. So we're going to go through what you need to complete over the academic year and some different requirements that will help you progress through and be successful in the project. So this is primarily for research participants. But if you're PD only and you're going to be doing the academic year information as well, or if you're going to be working with your master teacher, it might be helpful for you to hear some of these terms so you know what they are as we go throughout the academic year. So I'm going to also let Sherry say hi here before I start screen sharing.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. And thank you for attending. And thank you for persisting, and you're getting done. Congratulations.
Okay, thanks, Sherry. I'm going to go ahead and screen share here. I'm going to start in the agenda, which is linked in the description of the video and was also sent out to you. And I believe Sherry's going to post that in the chat for you guys as well, so you can work through that. So I'm going to screen share really quickly. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here's the agenda about what we want to accomplish and talk about today. As you can see, the slides are linked here, so you can follow along with me through the slides or view the record or view with us and watch the recording. So whatever works best for you, we have the different things linked here. So I'm going to hop over to the slides really quick. Well, first of all, we want to say congratulations on completing the PD, and we know that all of you put in a lot of hard work to get this accomplished and to go forward with the next steps with mobile CSP. So congratulations on completing the PD and sticking with it. The next steps are to complete any remaining requirements that you may have if you're a research participant. So that includes the final exam post-survey and getting some feedback from your master teachers about the lessons or units where you did not do as well. I just sent out a reminder for the final exam and post-survey this evening. So if you get that, that means that we don't have on file that you completed those requirements. So if you could complete those as soon as possible, that would be great. And it's also going to help us make sure that we get your stipend out to you quicker. And of course, that's contingent on meeting all the requirements. The second step is to review the academic year requirements, which is the purpose of this webinar and what we're going to be going over this evening. And the third step, of course, is to breathe and relax and recognize the accomplishment and all the hard work that you guys just put in these last 4 weeks. So take some time for yourself to get set up for your course and to prepare for the academic year. If you have not already viewed them, we have a webinar on completing the 2017 PD. Although the content of this was aimed as we were going through the PD, we talk a lot about important things such as wrapping up the PD and meeting research requirements. And also completing questions about the process for your stipend, when you can expect your payment, or any pieces like that. That we tried to address all those questions in that webinar. And it's a short webinar, 25 minutes. And in the description as well, we included some quick access links. So please go check that out if you haven't done so already. Lastly, last week we had a webinar. Pauline hosted a webinar on the AP-CSP audit process. That, again, is a short webinar, about 25 minutes, and she walks you through how to complete that process if you have not done so already. So if you will be teaching in an AP-CSP format and you need to complete the audit process, we highly recommend that you go watch that webinar and view the tutorial with Pauline. So we had a lot of questions. Excuse me. We had a lot of questions about meeting requirements, and some teachers were confused about what's the difference between the mobile CSP team webinars? Are those transferable to my master teacher meetings? So we wanted to take the time now to explain that to you so we can set you up for success for the academic year. So during the academic year, you'll meet monthly with your master teacher, And if you are a research participant, that is required. If you're a PD-only participant, we encourage you to attend those meetings. It's a great way to stay connected with your cohort and your master teacher, and also to get just-in-time curriculum support. So if you're going through a lesson that you have a question about, it's great to be able to ask your master teacher and get an answer right then and there. If you're a research participant, you're required to attend at least one meeting with your master teacher. And your master teacher and cohort will work with you. You'll discuss some common concerns or questions that people may have. And our research in the past has shown us that participants really find these meetings valuable. So if you take the time to commit and go to them, we hope that you'll also find them valuable as well and get something out of them. As I said, our research has shown us that people find this to be a good use of time. So that's a required meeting.
Cassandra. Hi, Cassie. I could just reinforce, if that's okay. This is Sherry again, and just want to say that we've been meeting with our master teachers, and they should be reaching out to you soon about a time that will work for you. And we've asked them to host a couple of times a month, so that let's say you're a coach and 4 o'clock in the afternoon doesn't work, but maybe something Saturday morning works and your master teacher's offering that. So we really do want you to attend, and as Cassandra noted, we have good research to show why this is so important for you. And it's nice to meet with the group rather than just individually, because it keeps a cohesiveness going, a learning community going. So thank you very much. And I see there's a question from Elizabeth about sending the agenda, and I will do that, Elizabeth. Okay, Cassandra.
Thanks, Sherry. So the next piece that we have or we offer is monthly webinars with the mobile CSP team. So that's the webinars such as this that we've been hosting. We typically cover supplemental material. However, the pieces that we cover in these webinars are very important. There are lots of time-sensitive things. We cover lessons or pieces that we were unable to go over during the PD. And while you're not required to watch these, or we're not taking attendance to ensure that you watch these, we highly encourage all participants to attend. And the reason for that is we have found that the webinars is the easiest way for us to reach the majority of our participants, and it's an easily digestible format typically. So that's why we host these meetings, is to tell you information. It's not just to, if you will, talk at you for an hour. We're really trying to provide some support through this. So while you're not required to attend the mobile CSP team meetings, we highly encourage you to do so. Also, attending or watching a recording of a mobile CSP hosted webinar is not going to replace your monthly meeting with your master teacher. You will still need to meet with your master teacher at least once a month. And the webinars for the mobile CSP team will be messaged through us. So if you're getting a message from Cassandra or Pauline or the mobile CSP account, that is a mobile CSP team hosted webinar. And we also link all of our webinars on the webinars page of the teacher resource website. So that's a good way to tell. Also, if you're confused, you can always ask your master teacher about which one they're hosting and which one mobile CSP is hosting. But we try to make that really clear in our monthly messages to you. So I hope that clears up any confusion about the differences between the master teacher meetings and the mobile CSP team meetings. Next, I'm going to discuss the research requirements for the academic year, and I'm going to walk you through each of these 3 pieces, these 3 questions. And I took these questions from what we heard from teacher feedback last year. So and this year, the most common concerns over the last 2 years are a confusion about, well, what requirements do I need to complete? How do I complete these? In other words, where do I upload my information? And how are my assessments, my midterm, and my final going to be issued to my students? I'm going to walk you through each of these processes. Excuse me. So the first question we have is, what requirements will I need to complete? So I'm not going to navigate to the teacher resource website. And the reason why I'm showing you through the resource website is because you guys will have access to this throughout the academic year. And the purpose of it is to truly be the one-stop shop for you, if you will, and try to address all of your questions. If you don't find something on the website, please reach out to your master teacher and they'll help you answer the questions that you have. I'm gonna hop over to the resource website. Over here on the navigation bar on the left, you'll see the different links. If you were in the online program, we covered how to navigate the site, but I'm just gonna give a really quick overview for those who maybe are seeing this just for the first time. So if you're not seeing the navigation bar over here on the left, you might have to check up in the left-hand corner for 3 horizontal bars. And you'll have to click that and the navigation bar should expand. So if you're not seeing that, you'll need to click the button up here in the left-hand corner. Also, I'm going to go to the requirements research overview here really quick. Please note that with the contact us page and requirements page, we do have some buttons that are underneath here. So if you're not seeing the page I'm on, you might have to expand the list. So this is a research overview. It gives you a really quick overview of what was included in your acceptance letter to the PD, and just a reminder to what you agreed to participate and what requirements you agreed to try your best to meet if you're a research participant. So you can see those 3 pieces that were included in your acceptance letter: participate in the PD, attend regular meetings during the PD, participate in activities that includes the lessons and meetings, teach the course, and share student and performance data. And that's what we're going to be covering today. So this is just a quick overview of the timeline for when you'll be submitting things and the different requirements you'll need to meet. Also under here, I'm sorry, I noticed the heading didn't update here. So this should say research overview, and then you'll go to research requirements. And here we have listed everything that you will need to meet if you are a research participant. So we have our PD requirements, which hopefully as a research participant you've been working on and met all of those. And then we have our academic year requirements, which we're going to walk through step by step here. So we just covered meeting with your master teacher on a regular basis. The next step is going to be to issue, collect, and upload student consent forms as soon as possible. So in the first week of your course, you will need to send consent forms to your students with a consent letter. The consent form is what your students will sign and return to you. If they are under the age of 18, they will need to have a parent or guardian sign off on that. And the parent or guardian will have an opportunity to say, yes, I give my student permission to participate, or no, I do not give my student permission to participate. If they select no, the student is still welcome to complete the midterm and final exam with us, and I will show you how we do that. But all of their information will be discarded at the end. So students who do not submit consent forms are those who select no, they do not give their consent to participate. Their data will be excluded and taken out of our analysis at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, when Pauline and I work to compile all the data and then pass that along to our data consultants, we will remove the information for students who do not have consent to participate. The biggest question I get about consent forms is, well, beyond just where can I find them, and we will put the links here. The biggest question that I get is, I'm missing a couple students. Do I need to have all of my students submit a consent form? The answer is yes. You need to make a good faith effort to have your students all submit consent forms. And the sooner you do that in your academic year, the easier it will be down the road, so you don't have to go back and try to find all these students and round them up. So that's a big priority to get done. If you don't get the consent forms out, then the rest of the research requirements aren't going to fall in line. And the first week or two with the mobile CSP project is going to be the busiest. So the consent form, next you'll have your students complete the pre-survey, and we'll go over how to issue the pre-survey and everything else. And that needs to be issued before Unit 2. So you need to get the pre-survey done too within a very short time of starting the course. You will also need to issue the proposal.
Cassandra,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I would emphasize how important that pre-survey is, and you've done a great job explaining it. Sometimes teachers have used some incentive to get that pre-survey or the consent form in. We know one teacher who gave like a treat to students. We know another teacher who gave students just like 5 points. There's just small ways teachers can sort of incentivize the consent form.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that, Sherry. We do have some collection tips that'll be linked, and there's lots of different ways to get the consent form out. Thank you for bringing that up, Sherry.
Yep, and Royce is asking a question about data, which if you don't mind, do you want to finish and then we can go to the question?
Sure, yeah, I just have a couple more points to mention here really quickly.
Okay.
So you'll also they'll also issue the midterm and exam 1. So midterm or exam 1 are the same thing, so that will get issued to your students. We do not have a set time in our curriculum. Typically it falls within the time of your school that they have allotted for a midterm. You'll have to upload your students' grades for the performance tasks, and we'll provide you with guides about how to grade those and more information about it. All teachers, regardless if you're teaching in an AP or non-AP format, will have to complete the performance data. And the final 2 pieces for student data is the final exam and post-survey. And then as a teacher, you will complete a post-survey at the end, and then online has the video task. And I'll go over each of these in more detail as we go through the webinar. Excuse me, Sherry, do we want to answer that question?
Yeah, we have a question which I think is a good question since this is a research project. It's what is the data specifically checking out? So in regards to student data, so people who are in the research project, we are looking at lots of different kinds of data, but one of the things the student data provides for us, and by the way, we have a grant evaluator and all this information. We don't even see the student names, those of us on the team. It's all very, we've gone through internal review process. We protect the data very closely. But what we're looking at is, we're looking at lots of things. We're trying to figure out how many girls are in the project, how many boys are in the project, how many underrepresented minorities are participating. As you know, we're trying to increase those underrepresented and girls in computing. We're looking at how well students are doing to give us some good feedback on the curriculum and on our professional development model. We try to see if there's differences in the way certain student groups perform. And really that gives us good indication of our ability to really support teachers through the process. But all of the data is always presented in any format in the aggregate. So it's always done in a way that would never reveal anything about any particular teacher, school, or even state. I hope that's helpful, Royce. That's a good question. And Cassandra, do you have other things you want to answer?
And we also look at the confidence and interest that students have in computer science and mobile application building. And I also want to offer a clarification. So in your student information gradebooks, where you will upload the information, and I'll walk through that process here in a moment, we will see your students' names. However, as Sherry said, all the information is removed before we do any analysis, and we have a certain way of tracking that, and we only present data in the aggregate. So at one point in time, you will need to upload student information, but that is only seen by you and the mobile CSP team. Your master teacher does not have access to that information. No one else in your cohort has access to that information. And I can talk about some different ways too that we can work with aliases as well. Excuse me. So is there any other questions? Are we ready to move on to the second piece here?
No, I think I just want to acknowledge in the live chat, we've had a couple people who weren't included in the email, and I provided my email, and they emailed me. My email, again, they weren't, not that they weren't included in the chat, they didn't get notification of this webinar, and we think part of that is because they're PD only, perhaps, or for some other reason. So if you're watching and you and that's you, please email me, and I'll make sure we'll try to investigate. And Beryl is asking if the slides could be made public, and we will do that if you're not accessing. The slides are linked in the agenda, but it could be the share feature. So Cassandra, when you're done, you could do that. I don't have that ability. It looks like Cassandra does, and she just did it. So,
yeah, I just want to make a quick note too that we sent out the email about this webinar on the forum. So my first suggestion, and I'm sure you guys may have already troubleshoot through this, is to make sure that you're logged into the account that you signed up for the mobile CSP course with, and that you are getting emails through the forum. And if that's not the case, then Sherry and I can help you through it.
Okay, thanks, Royce. He actually is a research participant. So Royce, we'll make sure that we'll check on our end to see what's going on there. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and I wrote your name in. We'll make sure.
Okay, so this is the time when we get lots of questions.
Okay, thank you, Cassandra, for doing that. Yeah.
I'm going to move forward with the second question there. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, you're breaking up just a little, but I was able to hear you.
So we're going to move forward with the second question about how do I meet these requirements and where do I upload information? You see you have a typo there. I'm sorry about that. So how do I meet these requirements? And we're going to navigate to this example mobile CSP student information spreadsheet. And this is when I get a ton of questions from you guys about permission to access gradebooks. So please just hold off on that for now and follow along with the example. I'm going to make sure right now that this is shared with everyone. Yep, anyone with the link can view. So if you can just hold off on asking for permission to access these gradebooks, that would save us a lot of time, and we can go forward and you guys can really take the chance to focus on the information you need to be uploading. Before you begin your academic year, we will get you set up with a gradebook. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm back on the teacher resource website. I'm going to go to the Managing Spreadsheet tab, and this is where you will access your gradebook and student information spreadsheet. So what is your student information spreadsheet? That is where you will upload all of this data that we need. So the pre-survey, midterm, performance tasks, final exam, post-survey, all of those good things will get uploaded into your gradebook or student information spreadsheet. And this page goes over how to access it and then what you need to include in your spreadsheet. So these links here, the online program, hybrid program, and an immersion week will link to these grade books. Now, as I stated before, please hold off on asking for permission for that. We have your folders set up, but we need to make sure that they are all permission and access. So we will grant you permission to your folder and your folder alone before you begin the academic year. However, you should be able to access these example spreadsheets. And they are all the same for every program, so whichever one you click on is fine. Once you access your gradebook, you will locate it by your first and last name. So once you get access to these gradebooks, you'll see a folder with your name on it. You'll click on that, and once you do, you'll see this in your folder. So you'll have a consent form, rubrics, and a student information spreadsheet. So up here you would see your name. I'm just going to change this. So you would have an example. You can access it here by your name, consent form, rubrics, and your student information spreadsheet. You will click on your folder and open your spreadsheet, and then your spreadsheet's going to be where you're uploading and submitted student data. I'm going to go over this infographic in a live example of the spreadsheet. But if you ever have any questions about what you're supposed to be uploading or doing, you can come to this page and look at the infographic. And we have some different prompts here that you can follow to help you be on track. You scroll down to the bottom of the page, and again, I'm going to walk you through each of these. It gives an overview about what's in your spreadsheet and what you can, what you will need to upload. So now that I've talked about it a ton, I'm actually going to take you into it. Excuse me. So when you open your spreadsheet, in this, I'm going to make sure again that this is accessible with a link. Okay. So once you are in the spreadsheet, you'll see something like this. Your students' names and information, of course, will not be listed. You'll see a prompt here about if you have more than one section to copy the sheet. And how you do that is you just right-click on the section and hit duplicate, and then you can rename that for your different section information. So your name will be up here at the top, and then you will list all of your student information here on a Google Sites URL. Having the URL and portfolio link right here next to your student name makes it so easy for grading, because you can just click on the link and go straight through and add all of the information you need to add. This first column is the consent forms, and this is a little bit tricky, but this is how we track information. And there are instructions in each of your spreadsheets, so you will see the red and blue text up here on the top to help you through it. So with the consent form, a Y is that the student submitted the consent form and agreed. No is that they submitted it, but they do not have permission to participate. Excuse me. And blank means that the student has not submitted a consent form. I'm just going to randomly go down here to show you guys an example. So according to this, Pauline, Sherry, and Chinmay have submitted consent forms. Jen does not have permission to participate, and Ralph has not yet submitted his consent form. We ask that you guys upload this information, or excuse me, update this information as soon as possible, and it helps us keep track. At the end of the year, we go through every single permission form and verify that the information that you have here is correct. So the consent forms in your folder that's by your last name and first name, where you found your student information spreadsheet, you'll have a consent forms folder. And this is where you will need to scan and upload all of your consent forms. They can be individual files, be all together, whatever works best for you. But we're going to go through and check all of them. So that's where you upload your consent forms. Next is the pre-survey, and Mobile CSP will update this information for you, and I'm going to show you how we do that here in just a second. So as we mentioned before, the consent form and the pre-survey are the heaviest lifting pieces, and those need to happen fairly quickly into your course. And once you have those pieces done, you'll find that the rest of the academic year falls into place and your data goes by pretty quickly. So if you can make it through these first two pieces, then you're well on your way to getting your stipend. So I'm going to show you how the pre-survey works really quickly here. So similar to what you guys did with your pre-survey, final exam, and post-survey, all of your students will get a token. Now we're changing our token process a little bit. So these are just random things here. The format may just change a little bit. But when you go on to this survey and exam tokens tab, you will see, when you first log on, you will see all of the information here for your students with random tokens. Okay. There will be a list of random tokens. If you're in the online program, we use the number of students that you gave us at the beginning of the year, and hybrid program, we do that as well to figure out how many tokens you need. If you did not provide us with a number, we give you 20. If you have more than you need, you don't need to contact us or anything. You just consider them as extras, and you can just leave them there. You do not need to delete them. If you have less than you need, please contact Mobile CSP as soon as possible, and we will get you more tokens for your students. Once you have access to your gradebook, which will be by the end of the week, please take a look at your pre-surveys tokens to make sure that you have enough. If you do not have enough, let us know. We need to know at least 24 hours before you issue your pre-survey, so we have enough time to turn around and get those tokens out to you. Check that before the information happens. With the pre-survey, you'll have tokens here, and you will need to record, just for the pre-survey, who you assign each of these tokens for. So, for example, I will need to write that I gave Pauline this token, Jen the token here, Sherry, Ralph, Chinma, and so on. So you will need to make sure that you are paying attention to who you are issuing the token to, just for the pre-survey. After the pre-survey has been done, we will create a study ID that is associated with each student. You do not need to change any of your students' study IDs. You do not need to create these. Mobile CSP will create them for you. It's just a way for us to link assessments. So the student pre-survey, midterm, final, and post-survey, so we can track student progress over time. This isn't anything that we report. It isn't anything that your students should have access to. It is just an internal measure that we use to keep track of our data. So with the pre-survey, you'll have tokens here, and then you'll need to write who you assign each of the tokens to. I hope that makes sense. And we will also have a step-by-step document available for you in a short tutorial that goes over how to do that. There are several ways to issue tokens to students. Teachers email them. Sometimes they print them off and give them to the students one by one. So however you want to distribute the tokens is fine, just as long as you are keeping track of who you assign those tokens to for the pre-survey. With the midterm, final, and post-survey, your students will also get tokens to access the assessments. However, with those ones, the tokens will be pre-generated, and you will need to make sure that you assign all of the tokens that are listed for Pauline to Pauline. So at the pre-survey, you'll need to fill in information, but these ones, it's very important that you issue the token to who is listed next to the name. And I know I'm getting a little redundant here, but this is very important that the tokens go out to the correct students. And we will have reminders about that too as we go through the midterm. So those are the biggest two pieces. Is the consent form. You'll need to get that out in the first week. Pre-survey will need to be done before beginning Unit 2. And once you've got all that stuff in, then the other things come pretty easy. After your students have completed the pre-survey, we will go into our survey system and check off that yes, they did and complete it. So not only will you need to record the name here, but on the pre-survey, students will have to enter their name into the assessment. And that's a good way for us to double check who got which token. So if you forget to record a student name, it's not the end of the world, but please take the time to do that when you do the pre-survey. The midterm, final, and post will go much easier for you. Okay, I'm going to pause here. Are there any questions about the consent form, pre-survey, or how the tokens work?
So I don't see any questions right now. I'm monitoring the chat.
Okay, sounds good. We can take some questions at the end too. So if you guys think of anything as we go on, just let us know. Next in your spreadsheet is the create task exam 1, which is the midterm, explore 1, create explore 2, and create 2. So these 4 performance tasks are in no particular order. This is just typically how students teachers issue them, excuse me. This isn't saying that you need to do exam 1 before you do explore 1. It's just the layout that we have here that other teachers have used. So as you can see, the performance tasks are here in blue. You will need to update that information and score the performance tasks once your students have completed them. For your exam 1, Mobile CSP will grade and update this information for you. So when it's getting to be about the time of your midterm, again, the same thing with your pre-survey, come in 24 hours before you're supposed to issue your midterm. Check to make sure all your tokens are in here and let us know if they're not. And your students will get the token, they'll click the link, take the midterm. And last year, every Tuesday and Thursday, we graded and scored exams for you. So your students take it in an online format, and we grade that for you. I'm going to show you quickly how we grade or what the reports that you get from your students look like. So after you get your midterm, you will have two tabs added, a response tab and a scores tab. You will not see midterm responses, scores, final responses, or final scores until after you have issued those assessments. So if you log into your grade book for the first time and you're missing those tabs, don't worry too much. We'll get them going for you once these assessments have been issued. So with the midterm responses, you will see what your students selected for each of the questions of the midterm. We will have the answer key up here at the top and also a link to the answer key. And when you get the email, you will get an email that says your students' grades have been updated. In that email, we will give you instructions about what the responses and score tabs mean, and also some examples and some tips for how to distribute these to students. In your scores tab, you can see how they scored on each question. So there'll be some columns that you maybe necessarily don't need, and we will include that in the directions. So we will explain each of these columns to you and what they mean. So question 1 here was worth 2 points, and you can see all the students got that answer correct. Question 5 was worth 1 point for each correct answer, and there was a total of 2 correct answers. This student selected did not get point for this correct answer. Now I know this looks a little complicated, but please keep in mind that we will have directions for how to grade this. We're just giving you an example quickly so you know what to expect. So we will explain all of this to you when the time comes. So the midterm scores and responses will look very similar. I don't have anything in here as an example, but it looks very similar to the final. Once that information has been updated, we will transfer the percentage over to your student information for us. It is very, very, very important that you take the time to double check that transfer. Last year on the online side alone, we had 2,000 students who we were grading for, so about 3,000 to 4,000 total for the mobile CSP that we graded finals and midterms for. So mistakes can happen, so we just ask for a second set of eyes that you make sure that we transferred those grades over correctly before you distribute that to students. And again, this will
Cassandra?
Email.
Cassandra? Hi, Cassandra. Could you say one more time, and I'll post it in the chat, when the teachers will get the links for their folders and spreadsheets?
So my plan, I'm so sorry guys, my plan was to have that to you today so you could look at these after the webinar. Unfortunately, I haven't been feeling the best today, so my hope is to have those to you by the end of the week. You will get an email that gives you permission to your folder in your grade book. I know some of you are starting as soon as the first week of August, and we'll try to have all of that set up so you can take a look at it. So just to have a final date, I would say no later than July 29th, you'll have access to your grade. Does that answer the question?
No later than July 29th. And yeah, Cassandra is a little under the weather today, and she's doing such a heavy lift for the project. So thanks for even being here today, Cassandra. Yeah. So hopefully that will be sent to everybody in time for them to, for those that have to start in early August.
Yeah, but if you guys don't see it too, just let me know, because when you first applied, we asked for your school email and your personal email. And with your grade books, we try to give both of your accounts permission, but sometimes we miss an account. So if you're not seeing it, please let me know and we'll get that straightened out. Okay. So with the final exam and midterm, we will grade those for you. The post-survey works similar to the pre-survey in the sense that we will check it off about who has met the requirement. your final course grades you will enter, and that should include all grades and assignments for your class, even your non-mobile CSP assignments. And then there's this column here that's titled dropped. So this is completely random, but according to the spreadsheet, by fate, Pauline dropped out here. So we updated that as a yes to say that she had dropped. And then you can either leave the columns that she missed blank or enter a hyphen, a zero, however you want to manage that. But make sure that you update this dropped column so we know when students drop. At the end is the study IDs. Again, this is just a management tool, or I shouldn't say management, that's not the correct word. It's a tracking tool for the mobile CSP project. All of you will have your own study ID as well, and you can see what those look like here. Study ID will be assigned by mobile CSP, and you should not be editing or changing study IDs around. So that is a quick overview of the spreadsheet. I went over how assignments were, issued, and on the resource website we will have a tutorial that gives you step-by-step instructions about how to access your tokens, what to do for the pre-survey, and how to distribute tokens. Have this webinar to reference, but you'll have step-by-step instructions on the resource website, and also potentially a short tutorial. So there's lots of different ways. Also, many of your master teachers have done this in the past, and we have used the same procedure for pre-surveys. So you can ask your master teacher too for tips and tricks about how they distributed tokens. This last piece is, who do I contact if I have questions? And your master teacher should really be your first point of contact. But mobile CSP will also provide you monthly communications about upcoming opportunities, events, time-sensitive information, and webinars. So if you have not received those messages from us, or if you did not receive a webinar message, you might want to check your spam or junk folders. We send it through Constant Contact. So sometimes it gets filtered to spam or junk. It comes from, it will say my email on it that it comes from, or Pauline. So you might want to check those if you haven't seen anything come through for us. Another thing is we send them typically through the forum. So if you have messages turned off from the forum, you might want to make sure you turn those on through the duration of the research project, just to kind of help you get organized. We will also provide you with an academic year pacing guide that will give you an overview of the deadlines for when you should be submitting information and updating your spreadsheet. I just want to make a plea really quick. Update your student information spreadsheet as you go. So please do not wait till the end of the year. You're going to be getting lots of emails from me. I'm going to be that annoying squeaky wheel reminding you to submit things. So if you can try to update the information as you have it, it'll save you a lot of time at the end of the year, and me as well. So it'll save us a lot of emails and get us set up. And also the turnaround for your stipend payment tends to be quicker at the end of the year if we're not having to go back and check, make sure all of the data has been uploaded. It's just very easy for me to check off that you met a requirement and get you that paperwork out. So if you can just update that as you go. So your master teacher should be your first point of contact, but if you have questions about the curriculum or course, you can contact info@mobilecsp.org. And if you have questions about the research or assessments, you can contact research@mobilecsp.org. A lot of you have been communicating with me through my personal email, and that is just fine, but I'm trying to transition to the research@mobilecsp.org account. I will be gone for the first 2 weeks of September, which I know is a common start date for a lot of people. So if you're emailing my personal account, you might not get a response about the pre-surveys right away. So if you have questions, just reach out to the research@mobilecsp.org account. And then we have some, just before I open it up to questions and concerns, I'm gonna mention a couple webinar dates. So for tentatively August 15th, we would like to have a webinar on the video task, and this is for online research participants only. So if you are hybrid or immersion week, You do not need to attend the video task webinar, just online research participants only. So if you can mark your calendar, we'll send you a reminder about that as we get closer. But just mark that to save the date. And then also we will have our first mobile CSP academic year webinar on October 17th about POGIL. We have many POGIL lessons in the curriculum. And POGIL is process-oriented guided inquiry learning. And all of our webinars will be linked on the webinar page of the teacher resource website. I'm starting to wane a little bit here. I'm going to open it up to questions or concerns now, and I'm going to jump out of the slide deck.
Hi, Cassandra. Thanks so much. I don't think we have any questions at this. So I think if folks have questions, again, you know that you can, and we were trying to transition into the new email. And
well, I see that there was a question about webinars, and maybe you answered this, Sherry, in the chat. But we're currently working on setting up the dates for those.
Well, we have a full academic year calendar schedule now. So.
Okay, thank you. And those will be on the academic year pacing guide too. So you'll not only have access to when requirements are due, but we'll also list when webinars are due and send you out reminders. I think I lost Sherry here, so I'm just gonna hop over to the live chat and see if there are any more questions. Just gonna wait a couple minutes here for any final questions. So if anything comes up, please feel free to post them in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come through, so I want to thank all of you for joining us today. A big thank you to Sherry for monitoring the chat, and if you guys have anything that comes up, please let us know. And thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully we'll be ready to kick off and go here in the next week. So thanks everyone, have a good evening.